Okay, so we're here today with Anna, and as long as I've known you, I don't know if I know your last name, Anna.
It's Lipster, but I have two previous name. Well, I don't know if it's called previous, but two first names is Ana Paulina. That's actually my name. That's how I was called in school uh, before I came to Israel. And here everything has to be rushed. So I I stopped using the Paulina only in the official documents, banks and IDs. Otherwise, I'm known as Ana Lipster or Ana. So you can
That
call me
helps a lot.
Ana.
Again, I think we've known each other now for it's just three whole years because we met back in 2020, and
Right.
I've seen that, of course, in your email, and I always well, I just know her as Anna. Now I understand why I know her as Anna. So, um, we basically have been going each month doing a different transcendent author interviews a transcendent author, and uh, this is my opportunity to interview you. But because of first of all, my whole family is home right now, and I usually get interrupted when I'm in my office and they're all home. And then also because I'm not real sure about my technical skills here, there's a strong possibility we may have to take this over again. So
No
rather
problem.
than doing a formalized interview, I just like to have a conversation. And part of the reason for that is because, again, I've always been interested in some of your background. We hear a little bit about each other in each of
Right.
our meetings and things, but a lot of times when I hear about you, it just makes me say, I want to ask her about that.
No
So
problem.
I know you're Jewish, and I think you were born in, I think I wrote down Portugal, but it was Brazil.
No,
So
I was born in Brazil.
born in Brazil. So you can see where I get the Portuguese connection. But
Yeah. And right now I'm writing a story that the family lives in Portugal, so maybe that's
uh,
the confusion comes from. But my background, my parents are Polish, my whole family, grandparents, great grandparents, whatever, for decades and generations, they come from Poland. And my grandparents were smart enough to leave Poland before the Nazism
a
grew.
little corporal from Austria showed up.
Yeah, right, right. So, well, also because of economic situation, they started getting very, very difficult to maintain a family. Both sides had 5 and 7 children. So it was hard. So my paternal grandfather left Poland already in 1929, and he went to Brazil. And there's a family legend. Well, it is true, but it became a funny story because there is this war between Argentina and Brazil, Brazilians against Argentinian. They're all the jokes, all around that one making the same joke about each other and so forth.
Yeah,
So my paternal grandfather, he was ready, documents, visa, boat ticket, everything to go to Argentina. But one of my aunts, very young child, she tore the documents. They were on the table, and she came and she played with it and she tore them. So what does a very religious man do when something like that happens? He goes to the rabbi. So the rabbi said maybe it wasn't the right moment, maybe it wasn't the right place. So sit and wait. So matters got worse economically. So he tried again, and he came to Brazil. And we're all grateful to that aunt because we weren't born Argentinians. We are born Brazilians. So That's one of the family stories. And my maternal grandfather, he came very late. He left Poland, um, I think in 33 or 34. So I say that when he started smelling the filth, he left. So my parents met in Brazil, in Rio de Janeiro, and Niterói, actually. Niterói was the capital of the state of Rio de Janeiro. But later on, the federal district moved to Brasilia, the capital of Brazil now. And so the two states became one, became the state of Rio de Janeiro, capital city of Rio de Janeiro. And Niterói is just a big city now. Anyway, that's how where I was born.
So then, when did you end up moving to? I mean, obviously, it was after Israel had become a state, but was it?
Yeah, much after. I came to Israel in 1968. Was just 6 months or so after the Six-Day War. I finished high school and I started to work, but I wanted to go to university, and we couldn't afford it there. And they 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 created this group of students around this age, after high school, or just about that age, and they gave free entrance to the universities here in Israel, to any young person who wanted to come and live here. So I got on board and I came with, we were 100 students from Central and South America, from, well, also North America, from Mexico, to Argentina. 25 were Brazilian. And well, during all these years, many went back or went to America or whatever. So that's why I studied in Jerusalem at the Hebrew University, and then I came to Herzliya, where my parents were living, and that's where I've been living since 1982.
So you moved from Brazil because of your school, but what made your parents move? Just because they figured you weren't coming back?
No, well, first of all, me. Yeah, that's right. I wasn't coming back. And also, we were not only religious family, but Zionist.
Mm.
And so my parents waited till my brother got to finish high school, and they moved here. They came here. It was about 4 years. I lived alone here for 4 years. Wasn't very easy, but I guess it was worthwhile to be all by myself, because in Jewish family in South America, you are protected all over. Everybody does everything for you. So here I had to well, solve my own problems without my family. So I think I grew up here in those 4 years. I really did. And the mentality is completely different. Here, a young person, 18 years old, goes to the army, and they mature much easier, much quicker than a young girl in South America in a Jewish family. I myself, I don't consider myself a religious person, but I'm a believer, and I follow what I think is good for me. And so my parents are very religious, but they are also liberal. So my father knows that I drive on Saturday, and he he accepts that as long as and I respect that. When I used to smoke, 20 years ago, I used to smoke. I never smoked on Saturday and holidays when I was there. No, I didn't even take my cigarettes with me. Things like that, I think is important. It's more important to respect your parents than just to do things just because,
Now,
like,
that makes me want to ask, is it smoking on the Sabbath that's a problem, or just because you were around your parents and didn't really want to, I'd say throw it in their face that you did it?
no, um, lighting fire is forbidden on Sabbath.
Okay.
Any fire. You're not supposed to cook on a Saturday. You're supposed to prepare your food, your meal, even
Oh,
for
yeah, yeah.
Saturday lunch on Friday. And well, like we do at our house, there's an electrical, we call it plata. It's just an electrical thing. I don't know.
A hot plate or a grill.
Yeah, it's a long one. You put it on the on electricity, and you leave the food there. You can either leave the whole Sabbath, the whole night. There's a special meal, a special food dish called chult. It's beans and meat, and it's very tasty, and uh, very religious people do that. My family is traditional. So on Friday night, after we finish eating, we put it back in the fridge. And then Saturday morning, we put it back on the plata, which some say that you're not supposed to do that because you're not supposed to change the temperature of your food. That's also not done on Sabbath. But that's what I mean when I follow, but not this for me is little things that then not today,
Yeah,
maybe on Moses' time, but not today. Today we need to take care if we don't have germs on the food. So we leave the food in the fridge, and then
right,
not to
right.
have germs the whole night on the platter. So things like that. And but I live in my own apartment. So I do um, heat the water for the coffee morning, which I'm not supposed to do. And I put on the light because it's dark, the apartment and stuff like that I'm not supposed to do. But as I said, I'm a believer and I do what I believe is right. And I hope God
Yeah,
understands that.
yeah. Well, I don't know if you're familiar with C.S. Lewis, but uh,
Sort
he
of.
is an author that's very big in my own life, not just because of the things that he wrote, but uh, as an author, I've learned an awful lot from him. So as a person and as an author, I learned a lot from him. And a lot of times he would write like a nonfiction book explaining some theological point, and then he'd write a work of fiction where he intermingled those, the underlying
Right.
tenets into the book itself. And for instance, his best series everybody knows is the Chronicles of Narnia, and uh, I like to read. I read things over and over and over again, and I've read the Chronicles of Narnia. I don't know, probably 9 or 10 times, and I read it 5 or 6 times before I realized that Aslan was a metaphor for Jesus. My
Oh,
computer's frozen up. I don't know if you can see me or hear me now.
yeah, sometimes you freeze, but I can still hear you.
If it's still working, we'll just keep going. So, one of the things I read an essay that Lewis had written, and he said that we don't need a preacher who stops being a preacher.
Your speech is frozen.
I winked out there for a second.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know where it cut off, but I was just describing that C.S.
Yeah.
Lewis wrote an essay once that he said that we don't need a preacher who stopped preaching and goes out and writes books or goes out and does movies. What we need are people with who are uh, talented authors and screenwriters, and we need them to include aspects of their I could say religion, but it's not necessarily religion, but it's their own theology and the things that they believe in their works, and that those scream louder than a preacher that stops to go and do it.
Yeah.
And a lot that's what a lot of what he did, and it's some of what I do, because in a lot of ways, some of the things. I mean, I'm not Jewish. I've never been to Brazil, but a lot of the things that you've just described. I grew up in a big family in the South where everybody is knows everybody else, and then when I got married and we moved off to the other side of the country, and it caused my wife and I to have to rely on one another and grow up faster, and and just like you talk about with your religion, it's to me, um, I follow what I believe more so than any just given denomination. I affiliate myself with a denomination, but uh, I'm not controlled by them, and I don't say, well, I usually describe it as a Southern Baptist. I will slam my beer glass on the bar and say, I don't dance while I'm headed out to the floor to dance. Uh, so that's a really long preface to get to the next question, which is, do you include aspects of your faith in your writing?
Yeah, sometimes I do. Yes. Yeah, sometimes I do. I think in one of the Transcendent Authors anthology, I don't remember exactly which one. I wrote a story about an addicted artist, and he was in a rehab place, and he met a woman who was working there after she finished her rehab months in another place. So she came to work there, and they met and they fell in love, and it was Passover time. So he was scared to leave the rehab center because he was scared he would go back to his addiction. And the whole story is about that, about his coping with his fears. And the family was waiting for him for the Passover Seder. So and he was late for the meal because he was um, finishing to paint something to give as a present for the family for Passover. So sometimes I do write things that merge religion, and more than religion is the customs and holidays, not the dogmas of the religion itself, but more like people react to it. And because this is what it's important for me, to keep the custom, to keep the faith, but not in the orthodox, ultra orthodox way that you forbid, you can't do this and you can't do, I that in the Jewish religion you're not supposed to mix meat and milk, and you can't eat them together, and you need to have all your cutleries and your dishes and everything, even the sink,
Yeah,
separate. uh, and I was once I was I was invited to a place, and I got there late, and they had already eaten, and it was family, so wasn't that important. And I was they had meat for supper, and I didn't want, so I want something lighter, some dairy thing. And I used the wrong salt thing. The meat thing was already on the table, and I used it, and I got such bad looks, and it was family, so but this is what I disagree completely. You don't need to push it so hard. I mean, the salt thing can be used both for meat and dairy things. I mean,
Yeah.
that's much for me. So this is what I think. I don't put this kind of thing in my stories. I might sometimes use it as to show how not to do that, not to go so far, because it doesn't mean anything for me.
Yeah.
My kitchen is kosher because I want my family to come and have a meal in my place. And I also think it's a good thing. And in Israel, it's very easy. It's not as hard as outside of Israel to look for a kosher, meal outside your home. So it's nothing. But I wouldn't go to that extreme to have. In that case, you need four salt and pepper stuff, because you need one for meat, one for dairy, and for Pesach you need two different also for meat and dairy. So everything you need four, and
Yeah.
that for me it's almost ridiculous. So but I do mix things. Yes, I do.
Well, so we're like moving right along to the question I really want to get to ask you, but I'm going to take a step back for just a second and go back to C.S. Lewis again, because he really is one of the biggest influential writers in my life. But he was good friends with J.R.R. Tolkien, and Tolkien was very much a Catholic, and he kind of would complain to Lewis because he said Lewis was sloppy in all his metaphors and they were so obvious, and he should just be more like the Catholic Tolkien. And one of the things that Lewis kind of said was, it's like this: we agree on the big things, but we don't have to agree on the little things. And he in particular was kind of thinking about like baptism, because as a Christian, you got those got to go all the way under versus getting sprinkled, and uh, but the thing I really take away from it is we agree on the big things, but it's the little things. You can do what you want to do, and I'll do what I'm going to do. And
Right.
I met a Seventh Day Adventist last year. It was the first time I met a Seventh Day Adventist, and he didn't eat any pork. Sort of similar to Jewish. And I was like, okay, I get it, and I don't want to be obvious in front of him, but I brought sausage to the barbecue. I'm still going to cook my pork products. I'm not, and I try not to be, overt about it. Like, man, you got to try this sausage, uh, you
Oh,
know.
you
But
have to warn him that this is pork.
yeah,
So, but I
but I
agree.
did. I even asked him about that because I mean, part of it was to ask him about being a Seventh Day Adventist, and part of it was to say, I want to make sure I'm not offending you, because we ended up barbecuing several weekends in a row, and I didn't bring sausage all the time, but I was not. I didn't shy away because I'm Southern and I'll eat pretty much anything. So
Yeah.
we were kind of heading in a direction of writing, to the fact that I know you have I think it's finished novel called Serendipity. And
Oh,
whether
yeah.
it's finished or not, I love the word, because one of the things that I've been saying for, well, I don't want to admit how many decades I've been saying it, but I say that serendipity takes me everywhere. And a lot of times it looks like Ginger, my wife, but it's still serendipity. And in my opinion, serendipity, karma, luck, and coincidence, they're all synonyms for providence. So when you mentioned that you had a story named Serendipity, it made me say, okay, that's something that I really would like to find out about. So uh, tell me something about your story.
Well, it started as a short story that I entered
Don't
in a.
they all?
Yeah, right. It's kind of repeating itself. There's a group here of volunteers, English speakers, called Ezra. Ezra means help in Hebrew. Ezra is help, so they call themselves Ezra, which is also a masculine name. Anyway, it's a very big group of English speakers, and they have a magazine 4 or 5 times a day. They put out a magazine with all kinds of things, stories and articles and recipes, everything. So they put out a contest of short stories, and the title had to be Serendipity. So I wrote the story about a young couple living in Israel, and the man got frightened when the woman got pregnant, and he entered a cult and ended up stealing one of the twin. She had twin girls, and he stole one of the babies and was never found. And well, to cut a long story short, it's it's in the end the one of the twins, the one that grew up with the mother, coincidentally was eating in the same restaurant that the stolen twin walked in. So they found each other, and she was taken to the mother. And well, there's a happy ending. And I put it out. It was an exercise. Also, the story started as an exercise also for the Right for Practice, and I put it on the Draft to Digital, and it was sitting there. So in the end, I decided to take it out and make it a novel. And I was told if to put it back in, I had to change the title. So the Serendipity short story is there, but now I'm writing a novel called Twist of Fate. And I start with that bomb exploding in Jerusalem with one of the sisters who is murdered, and the younger sister is the one that has the whole story of serendipity. She's the one who comes back to Israel. The family lived in Portugal, so she comes to Israel and she starts the family, and her husband will steal the. And here I will put a lot of things of the Jewish, I don't know what to call it, rules and regulations, because we don't have a constitution. We go by the Torah and we go by the English rules, and because of the English mandate here and the Turkish, a lot of our rules are based on that. But the Torah says that if everything is around the man will marry you and the man will divorce you. He will give you the divorce. A woman
doesn't get to choose.
No. And if a man disappears and the body is never found, or the person is, they cannot find the person and he doesn't give the divorce to the woman, or the body is never found, the woman cannot remarry. So this girl, the husband stole the child and disappeared. And he was still here in Israel, we suppose, but she couldn't remarry. And in the end, there's a happy ending because she finds someone new, and the stolen daughter, he tells the father, you have to give her divorce. So many 20 years have passed, and there's no point of keeping her prisoner. because that's the woman
Exactly
is
what he was doing. Yeah.
yeah, and she convinces the father to go and divorce the mother so she can remarry. And there's a happy end of the whole family again. The mother with the two twin sisters and the new husband, who also happens to have two sons, but there's another, maybe for another story.
Yeah. There's always time and
Yeah,
room for another
one of the
story.
sons will marry one of the daughters, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so I had to get rid of the title, but the subject is still serendipity.
And you said now it's a twist of fate. The
Yes.
fate, that sounds like an awesome idea for like a theme for a collection of short stories, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
we've probably been on long enough recording now that we're probably going to get our hands slapped for being a little too long, but I would love to keep going. So I thank you very much for your time and your openness. And I know that I've learned an awful lot.
Thank you. It was a good experience for me. And yeah, I was scared. I must confess, yeah, because I'm shy and I thought I would just stammer but it was a good experience and I thank you for that. Thank you very much.
You're
Okay.
welcome.
Okay. Bye-bye.